The information that we are sharing today is our own personal experiences and does not constitute as medical advice. Please check with your doctor for medical advice that is suited to you and your condition. Thank you.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Take a Pain Check. This week's episode features a very talented and special guest, Spencer O'Brien. Spencer O'Brien is one of the world's top and few female Canadian snowboarders. She is from British Columbia, of Indigenous descent. She gained this title by achieving a prestigious feat in 2012 when she was declared the champion of the World Snowboard Tour. She won the gold medal in slopestyle at the 2013 FIS Snowboarding World Championships and won 5 medals, 1 gold, 1 silver. I did my research, 3 bronze at the Winter X Games. So hi, Spencer. Thank you so much for coming on today on to Take a Pain Check. And we could honestly go on about all of your outstanding achievements, but we really just want to hear from you. So can you kind of start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and that very kind introduction. I am, yeah, as you said, I'm a professional snowboarder. I was born and raised in Alert Bay, BC, and grew up on Vancouver Island. And that's kind of where I found my love for the mountains and for snowboarding. And I now reside in Vancouver and Whistler. And yeah, kind of just spend my seasons chasing the snow. And yeah, it's been a really fun ride. I've been competing professionally for over 15 years now.
Wow. So, okay. I've followed you since I was a kid, and you've been like one of my personal kind of heroes, I guess, in a way. But how old are you actually? Because you look super young and you've done so much.
Yeah, sorry, I'm 33. So yeah, I've turned professional when I was 17.
Yeah. Honestly, I thought you were close to my age, and I'm only 20, so
Oh.
you look very young.
Yeah, same. I totally relate with that. You look like Trisha's age. I always call Trish old, but that's a different situation. Trish, have you been to BC?
No, but I really want to go. So like, I don't know, like you've probably been to Toronto because everybody comes to Toronto. Like what's the difference like background wise?
I mean, Toronto to me is just so much more of a city than Vancouver. Like Vancouver's a city and it's big and but like the mountains are right there, the ocean's right there. It just, I don't know, it kind of pales in comparison to like Toronto. Toronto feels like a lot more like New York or I don't know, just it feels like a bigger city to me, but yeah, it's awesome. I actually miss going out there. I haven't been out there in so long and everything with COVID. It's feel very lucky to be stuck in BC, but also I really miss traveling and yeah, miss going to see my friends in the other parts of the country and the world.
Have you missed any competitions because of COVID?
Yeah, a handful of them got canceled this year. I was still recovering from a knee injury at the beginning of the season. And so I ended up actually not even competing this year. There was only a few that ended up happening and they were all pretty weird. And I don't know, just with COVID, I didn't feel super comfortable traveling. So I kind of chose to sit this season out competitively and focused my efforts on just kind of exploring BC and riding the backcountry. And I actually filmed a documentary that's kind of about my life and career and my hometown of Alert Bay. And that's going to be coming out in the fall.
It'll be exciting. Well, keep us posted because we want to watch that. I watched like a few of your videos on YouTube the other day when I was just having fun reading up on who we're getting on here. But a lot of the things that you do, you've also been in a lot of arthritis related initiatives as well. Like I think Arthritis Futures Canada spokesperson, right? Am I correct? Or yeah. So we're gonna get into that quickly, but we just wanted to start off by talking about your arthritis diagnosis and when you were actually diagnosed and if you were misdiagnosed, because I think there was some part of that. So yeah.
Yeah, so I have rheumatoid arthritis. I was diagnosed when I was 25. So that was diagnosed about 2 months before the 2014 Olympics. And the 7 months prior to that, I was just like riddled with symptoms. And I had all these random joint injuries that they kind of attributed to my sport and just all the impact that I take doing a a high impact action sport.
Yeah.
But yeah, after a while, it was kind of like, okay, this seems like this can't be a coincidence that I continually am getting like bursitis and capsulitis, and which are essentially just inflammation of your joints, but just in different parts of my body. And yeah, so it took actually a really long time for me to get diagnosed and get on the right medication that would, you know, help ease my symptoms and make me feel normal again. But yeah, that didn't happen until November of 2013.
So it took you a really long time to get diagnosed. At that point, did you feel as though it when you finally did get diagnosed, did you feel as though it had some like a weight was lifted off your shoulders because you finally knew the answer?
It was interesting. I was in like such a dark place at that point because it was so close to the games, and how I was the worst flare up I've ever had at that point. I couldn't walk down a set of stairs in the morning. I had morning stiffness for probably 7 hours of the day. It would take me a good 30 minutes to get out of bed and put my feet on the ground. And it was so just daily life was so challenging. I couldn't even imagine possibly doing my sport. So I was in like a really deep depression, also just trying to imagine myself still being able to get to the Olympics, or even being able to snowboard again seemed very far out of reach. And it just seemed like no matter what we tried, or, you know, how many doctors I saw, there was no relief, and there was no diagnosis. So on one side, it was a huge relief to be like, okay, we know what's wrong with me. But in that moment, I was pretty devastated. I just, the way that my body was and how close the games were, I didn't see a way that I would ever be able to compete. But modern medicine is a wonderful thing. And they were able to get me on meds really quickly. And yeah, we kind of had to like tinker with a bunch of things, and I had to try a bunch of different types of medication. But once I found something, I was able to do my sport. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to get this thing back in my life that I love so much.
Are you on the same medication now that like it's kind of been the same?
No, I've probably been through about 6 or 7 different ones. For the last 5 or 6 years, though, I've been on a biologic called Symphony. So it's like a once a month auto injector. And then I'm just about to add methotrexate to that as well, which I was on previously. But yeah. They're gonna double down.
I feel like methotrexate is the go-to for every rheumatologist.
Yeah.
Especially that on methotrexate. So a lot of people add on methotrexate to their biologic because apparently it's supposed to help better. So that's probably what's going on there. When you were diagnosed, and since you were diagnosed at an age where you weren't really juvenile, but you're also like not considered totally an adult, I guess you're in the middle. How did you really feel about that? Did you have like an organization or support to right by your side?
Yeah, it was interesting for me because I kind of didn't want anyone to know for some weird reason. I don't know. I like really kept it close to the chest, and kind of my family and my coach and my physio and my doctors were like the only people that really knew. Even going to the games, like I didn't tell, you know, we just kind of, I had been recovering from a shoulder injury also and wrist surgery. So we kind of just were like, yeah, I was out because of this, and we're just going to omit the arthritis part. I had such little time to process it going into the games that I didn't feel comfortable talking to like the world media about it at that point. So yeah, I mean, that first year being diagnosed, I think I just tried to pretend like it didn't happen. And I tried to put the blinders on and just be like, no, not me. But once I actually got a chance to process the diagnosis and like obviously my Olympic experience, I became more comfortable to speaking about it. And that was kind of when I started to find out about organizations, you know, like Arthritis Research Canada, Cassie and Friends, your Arthritis Society. And then I started to have people reach out to me via social media, which actually made me feel so much better, because all of a sudden I was like, oh, like I'm not alone in this. And up until that point, I felt pretty lonely, just because I didn't have anyone to talk to about it who understood. I had no one else in my life who was experiencing the things that I was going through. And yeah, kind of speaking out publicly about it was probably the best thing I did, for my mental health around my disease, was just to like find that support.
So once you were like able to find that support, when did you really start advocating not only for yourself, but kind of advocating for others too? When were you comfortable in doing that?
I guess it was pretty quickly after. Like once I went public with it, I had a lot of people start to reach out to me, via social media and, yeah, like Arthritis Research Canada and like all the different organizations. And so it kind of immediately put me into that position of like, oh, like this is something that I can have an impact with, and I can help people and inspire people. And so it just kind of was a no-brainer to like kind of carry on down that road and contribute as much as I could.
I know that you attended the Cassie and Friends Family Day. I saw a picture. That's why I know this. So how did you feel when you actually started to empower other kids? Because I think that's a cool moment, I guess. But how did you feel that you were being this inspiration, not only for like snowboarding, but also for arthritis?
Yeah, it was super empowering. And I mean, doing this like family day with Cassie and Friends is like my favorite event to be a part of. The kids are so amazing. The parents are wonderful. And I don't know, it's such a fun event, and it's really casual. It's like, really just like talking and having a conversation and relating to one another. And I mean, it breaks my heart to think that kids have to deal with that kind of pain, and that they can't play with other kids, or it's horrible, but it's really amazing to see those organizations to help those families cope and for them to build community with other kids that are like them. So it's always been such a pleasure to work with Cassie and Friends. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's wonderful for me too. Like I've gained so many resources and made so many friends and connections, with like-minded people who experience the same thing. And yeah, it's one thing to empower people through sport as a role model. But yeah, being able to relate to people on that kind of level where, you've experienced this very similar, I guess, pain or journey. And I mean, that's really special to me. It means a lot when people reach out and say that, my journey with arthritis and my sport has inspired them to, to pick up a sport again, or to get back to the gym, or just get active again, anything like that. It's just, yeah, it's really amazing for me, and also very empowering for me to keep going and, try to do my sport for as long as I can.
I mean, you were my inspiration behind playing rugby, which is a joke when I started. I think I was like 14, and the joke when I started playing. But when I saw that like you were doing what you were doing, it was kind of a moment where I was just like, okay, like I can do it too. And I did it for quite some time. But now, like, how do you deal? How does the arthritis present differently in you? Do you think because you are doing such a physically intense sport?
Yeah, I mean, also that's amazing you played rugby, and I love that I was able to inspire you. I think that's so awesome, and that's such an intense, awesome sport. um, but yeah, for me, I mean, it's been challenging, I think, with the fatigue. When my symptoms are managed, it's great. I don't really think about it. I'm able to snowboard as much as I like, and I can train. But it's also like like that stuff has become, my training is so important now for my sport, just for like the stability of my joints, and to make sure that I'm maintaining a certain level of strength so that I can continue to do my sport. But then I think I struggle a lot with the fatigue. There's just some days where I'm so tired. And I think that's not something that like my competitors or other people really have to deal with. So there's certain days where I just have to respect that. And I have to be like, today's not a day that I'm going to be able to snowboard, or maybe not a day that I can go to the gym. And that's okay. You know, I've learned to pick my battles, and I've learned to respect my body and to listen to it. But yeah, I also feel very grateful that I've found medication that has really managed my symptoms extremely well. I know that isn't the case for many people.
It took me a really long time to find out what medication actually worked for me. It took 3 years, which was awful, but now I'm okay. So it's really nice to know that you have found those medications that do work for you. And like you said, a lot of the time people don't find the right medication for a really long time. And that also takes a toll on their mental health and well-being and just the disease progression. Because I know when I stopped when I couldn't find the medication, that caused like erosions in my MRIs, and it was just like, why is this happening? But since we kind of use the word idiopathic over here just because like Trish and I have juvenile idiopathic arthritis, and we ask most of our guests what do they believe really sparked their arthritis. So I kind of want to hear from you, like what your theory behind what really started your arthritis. Was it stress, environment, genetics? I don't know. What do you think it is?
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't have the genetic marker in my blood, which is also why it took so long for me to be diagnosed, because it wasn't coming up in my blood. And there isn't a genetic history of it in my family. So they were kind of like a little puzzled. So, I mean, we kind of narrowed it down to just stress. So I'm not sure. It must have just been like the stress of like qualifying for the Olympics. And, you know, I was putting a lot of pressure on myself at that time in my life and demanding a ton of my body and of my mind. And yeah, it's an extremely pressure-filled, stressful situation to qualify for games. And yeah, that's kind of the only thing I can really attribute it to, was that year leading into the Olympics. And I think I was asking too much of myself, to be honest. But yeah, it was always kind of a weird one that like I never really knew why, you know. It's like, why me?
I think like stress is a big factor, and I think for me specifically it was, and I think Trish too, but or maybe I'm just making that up. No, Trish, am I right? I'm right, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I think I moved schools to a private school, and then that was just a totally different environment. So that caused stress for me. And then like people there, awful people there. So that caused stress, and then not being accommodated because I had arthritis caused stress. Just really bad. But it's okay. Now I'm living a stress-free life, kind of.
Right? Yeah. It's all about finding the stress-free life. I mean, yeah, it's such a challenge. It's like, it changes too, right? I mean, I've been on my meds for 5 years, and now they're starting to not work as good as they once did. So I have to add to that. And yeah, and I mean, even when I had blew my knee, I tore my ACL in my knee twice in the last 3 years. And after my my first surgery, my graft failed, and doctors were like, well, we don't know how much your medication affected your healing process, because I'm on an immune suppressant. They're like, there's not a lot of research on like people with RA getting ACL rehabs and like going back to sports. So for my second surgery, just to like give my knee the best chance possible, and because I was doing so well with my arthritis, that they actually took me off my meds for 3 months. We were aiming for 4 to go 4 months, no meds. And after like, and I was like, in my head, I was like, I'm in remission. I'm going to be in remission, and I'm not going to have to go back on. And like, I had like, I don't know, I just was feeling so hopeful because of how good I had been feeling. But yeah, after about a month of being off my meds, like it all started to come back, and I was like, okay, I'm definitely not in remission. And it was a pretty like stark reminder of like how horrible it is to live in chronic pain and how detrimental it is to mental health. It's so dark and it's so lonely when you are constantly in pain. And I think I had kind of forgotten that. I had forgotten how that felt because I had been doing so well for so long. But that was quite the reality check for me. And I was like, okay, I would like my symphony back now.
Because you are like because you were able to snowboard without having arthritis, and then you're snowboarding with arthritis, have you noticed like your recovery time has changed a lot? Or like do you have to change your training schedule to kind of suit your arthritis rather than what you were able to do before?
Yeah, definitely. We had to make some really big adjustments, especially like the couple years following my diagnosis. I used to lift like Olympic lift really quite heavy and a lot, which obviously is like hard on your joints.
Yeah.
So we actually kind of pretty much removed like Olympic lifting from my training for a couple of years. And then we slowly reintroduced it. And I'll probably never try to squat like 250 pounds again, but it's a big part of my training again, and my body's able to withstand it now. But it was definitely like this, we had to like kind of go back to square one and like build me back up very slowly.
Yeah.
Because my body was wrecked after that. Like I was like it was crazy to look back on photos. Actually, I look like a completely different person from the time I was diagnosed. But yeah, now I feel like I'm kind of back to a place that's very similar to what I was. Maybe not quite intense, but maybe not quite as intense, but pretty comparable. So I feel very lucky that I was able to kind of return to that level of sport.
I know that like when I work out, I know exactly when my joint is it's gonna hurt as soon as I like lift something or whatever. Does that happen to you? Do you know like exactly when it's gonna be a problem that you're gonna have to deal with later?
Yeah, so sometimes for sure. But it's hard too, because it's like I have had so many injuries also, like on top of
Yeah.
it. So sometimes I'm like, is this arthritis or is this me being like on my 100th injury?
Can't differentiate.
No, I'm just like, I'm a mess.
I think it's kind of weird that, I mean, it's hard because you see yourself having arthritis, but then you also think it's something else that's happening. So like, it's like, oh my God, like what is actually the cause of this pain? And I totally understand what you mean. And back on the fact that you mentioned a bunch of injuries and all of that. So something did happen to your hand, didn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Ah,
I got hand surgery 6 weeks ago.
Okay. So
Looks gross. I hope it like stops looking so gross.
how's your hand feeling now?
It's good. I got it. They did 3 pins in there, so it's like secure, and it was actually like quite an easy rehab. Coming off of like 2 ACL surgeries, which are like crazy invasive, I was like, this is a walk in the park. And I'm very lucky to have really like nice doctors who are like progressive and don't shut me down, because I was like, how soon can I snowboard? And he was like, what? You broke your hand, you just had surgery. I was like, yeah, but I really need to keep snowboarding. So luckily he cleared me to ride about a week after surgery. I
wow.
just had to get this brace made. So yeah, it was actually, I mean, it was crazy. It was probably like the least pain I've ever had for a surgery. And I did end up getting like a small infection in there, which with the Symphony can be quite dangerous. So had to go on like kind of a lot of antibiotics for that, which was kind of the only hiccup with it. But yeah, it's feeling better now. And I'm pretty much in the completely healed zone.
Aren't you scared that you're gonna break it again when you're snowboarding and you just broke it?
Yeah, I was for sure. I mean, it's kind of hard to not, like, you don't use your hand for snowboarding that much, but you also do if you fall on it a lot, and you use it to push yourself back up to grab your snowboard. Like there are things that you need it for. Because it was pinned, I felt more confident with it, because it's, but it can still re-break even though you have the pins in there, and it's obviously extremely fragile. So it was kind of like a calculated risk, but yeah, definitely most doctors would be like, absolutely not. You're not snowboarding till next year.
So did your doctors take you off of medications for this surgery, or was it for the other? It was only.
It was only for my knee, because my first knee surgery, the graft didn't take. So they don't know for sure if it was because of my meds. That happens sometimes to anyone. There's like a small percentage of grafts that for ACL repairs that don't take, and then you basically just have to get it redone. And that's what they think kind of happened with mine. So just for my second one, just kind of for extra safety and to like ensure that I didn't have to do that process again, because it's a year-long rehab. It's really, really long, and doing the 2 back to back was like awful. And I really didn't want to do a third. So they just, to be safe, they were like, let's just go off. And if you start to have symptoms again, we'll put you back on your meds, but let's just try and give your body the best chance it can, I guess. But yeah, I think I made it 3 months, I think, without medication. But by the 3rd month, I was like, I need to go back on. And I was lucky that it kind of kicked back in quite quickly. So yeah, it didn't flare up too bad, which was good.
Yeah. How many total breaks have you had?
Oh,
How many bones have you broken in total?
I haven't actually broken that many bones. I've broken my shoulder. I broke my left shoulder. Like I dislocated it and broke the humeral head. And then I broke my hand. My 4th metacarpal. I've broken something else too, haven't I? Maybe that's it. That might be all the breaks. But then I've like blown my knee twice. I've had bunion surgery on my foot. I've had wrist surgery. I broke my back.
Wow.
I broke my L1 in my back, but it was like a very stable fracture, so it was actually super mellow. And then I've had concussions. I separated my right shoulder. I've sprained my ankles like a million times.
Well, now I know who to call when I need to go get surgery for something.
Yeah, you need a surgeon recommendation, I got you. I've had pretty much every body part.
Crazy. How do you continue? Like, I feel like if I broke something, I'd be like, never again am I going back to this. How do you do it?
I mean, snowboarding brings me so much happiness. It's like my main source of joy in my life. And I love it so much. So yeah, I take a lot of pain and punishment to keep doing it. But it's just like, it's kind of one of those things that you accept after a while. Like getting injured is part of it. And it doesn't matter how cautious you are or how good you are. The injuries are a very big part of sport. And yeah, I just kind of have accepted that it's not necessarily something I need to be afraid of. It's just, you got to work through it. I don't know. I think I'm lucky though, that I'm able to like separate that, because there are a lot of people that, even professional athletes, that have a hard time coming back from bigger injuries, because of the fear, because you're scared to do it again. You're scared to, re-injure something else. And there's definitely like a period of hesitancy when you come back, and you've got to kind of work through that. But I don't know, it's always been worth it to me to do the rehabs and to get back to it, because it just makes me so happy.
Yeah. What age did you actually start snowboarding?
I learned how to snowboard when I was 11, but I learned how to ski when I was 2. So been on snow for a long time. And yeah, my whole family snowboards, and it's just like it's always been a big part of my life.
Yeah. I learned how to ski 2 years ago for the first time.
Oh,
never been again.
Oh.
So,
did you like it?
It wasn't bad. I'm an athletic person, so it's not hard for me to catch on to things. But I found that because you go so fast, I psych myself out. So I'll wipe out on purpose because I feel like I'm going too fast. And after that, I was just done. I wanted to go again this year, but then COVID happened and stuff. But I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Oh, good. Yeah, you should go again, because that gets you just get used to going that fast, and then it's normal. And then you'll be cruising.
I don't like skating, or skiing was really hard or scary, I think. In grade 5, I know they used to take us skiing field trips and all that fun stuff. And I used to be no. I think I was just I don't think I was like trained or I didn't have classes. They just put me down the hill and they're like, go, go with all the other kids. And I think that's why I just like did not love it. But I mean, it doesn't hurt to try again. But also, doesn't your feet? Do you have like feet pain, because of your arthritis or no?
Yeah, I did. I had really bad I got really bad capsulitis in my toes. So yeah, which was ended up being my arthritis, I guess. Actually, they diagnosed it as that, but I guess in hindsight it was actually my arthritis. But that was really bad. That was really hard to snowboard when my feet were like that. I went to what happened because before I was diagnosed, the summer before I was diagnosed, I got a Baker's cyst in my knee, which is like when your knee capsule like fills with fluid and you like basically can't bend your knee because it's so full of fluid. And it's a symptom. It's actually not an injury. You usually people get it when they like tear something in their knee and they're like your body sends so much inflammation to try and heal it. But then your capsule fills up and it's just like really painful and hard to move. And I spent a few months like rehabbing that. And then I went to Australia to like test it out. I hadn't ridden in like 4 or 5 months. And I got down there and I I was on, I think it's called Celebrex. I was on is like a type of anti-inflammatory that can be used for arthritis. But I was taking it for the cyst. And so it was like keeping my RA at bay, but like I still hurt, but I was like manageable. But I started to run out of it while I was in Australia and my feet just like lit up and I like could barely do a run. I was in so much pain. It was like, yeah, I would like get to the bottom and like rip my bindings off, like, like it just like hurt so much to be in boots and to be in my board. And then it was crazy. I actually like ended up bruising my heels because didn't want to put pressure on my toes. So I was like walking so much on my heels that I was starting to bruise them. And it was just like such a mess. I was like, what is wrong with me? Like and people would be like, why aren't you riding? Like, why aren't you competing? And I'd be like, my shoulders don't go above 90 degrees and my toes hurt. I don't know. But that was probably the worst part was just like not knowing what was wrong with me and why these dumb little things were taking me out.
Yeah, and I just wanted to ask a question about like mental health. You partner with Arthritis Society, and we always discuss the positives when it comes to advocacy. But with such a large platform, you kind of get everyone's opinions. So, what have been some of your challenges you faced with being so open on your journey, and how have you dealt with them, if applied? I don't know if it applies to you, but I think it should. There might have been some downhill falls, stuff like that.
I think in the beginning I was really scared to speak out. Well, for one, I was like grappling with my own understanding of it and trying to move forward with like being diagnosed with like a lifelong disease. And then I was pretty worried to speak out about it because I didn't want to be labeled. I always found myself wanting to be like, I'm a snowboarder and I want to be known for my snowboarding. And even with like my First Nations background, I was like, I don't want to be known as the First Nations snowboarder. I just want to be a snowboarder. But as I've gotten older and, my culture has become more a part of my life and I've realized what impact I can have through my snowboarding for my people, that has become, very evident that like, they don't need to be mutually exclusive. I can still be a snowboarder. I can be First Nations. And I think it was kind of the same with my arthritis was I also was afraid to be labeled as like the arthritic snowboarder. And I didn't want that to be all people wanted to talk about. But once I did open up about it, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Like I said, it was very empowering and it really opened my eyes to how many people this disease really does affect and how important it is to be an advocate for it, for research and inspiration and whatever it is, because it affects so many people throughout the world.
Yeah. So to end us off, before we get into like our little game, we wanted to ask you what your favorite Olympic highlights have been from any of the Olympics you've been to.
Oh, that's hard. I think I think my favorite Olympic highlight was in Korea. One of my best friend Anna won gold in big air. And I got to be like at the bottom for that, and just like being there for that like inclusion of our sport in that event at the games was like just so special. And also just like having my family there. For Korea, my 80-year-old grandmother came. I convinced her to get on a plane to Korea somehow. So her, my mother, and my father were there, and yeah, it was just very special.
Okay, so we're gonna go into like our game. I don't know if you've done something like this before, and we haven't actually played a game like this before, so we're just gonna try it out. It's like creating an arthritis starter pack, and that's what we've named it. I'm gonna ask both of you a bunch of fast-paced questions, and you have to answer the first thing that comes to your mind.
Write down what we say, and then at the end, read it all out, like as a collective.
Okay, wait. Then I have to get a piece of paper.
Yeah, me too.
Oh. Okay, go.
Somewhere.
Try to make our podcast segments a little bit different than other podcasts.
Hold on, I need a pen.
Okay.
Write mine in the chat, but everyone's gonna know. This is so difficult to find. I feel like no one uses paper anymore.
I know, like, can I write on my census form? Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 7 questions, and they all have to do with arthritis.
Okay.
Okay. So the first question is, you don't have to say their name, but like first, second, third, like that kind of thing. Who is your favorite doctor? Go, Natasha.
Like for all of my life.
Yeah. I
Rheumatology.
said label them first, second, third.
What that means?
First doctor, second doctor, third doctor. Hurry up.
No, let Spencer go first.
Me? Okay. My first would be Dr. Rod French. He was my hand surgeon who diagnosed me with RA. My second is Dr. Esdale, my rheumatologist, and my third is Dr. Bovard, it's a tie. Dr. Bovard and Dr. Hackett, my knee surgeon.
She's definitely giving names.
He has so many doctors.
Oh, was I not supposed to give names?
No,
That's okay.
You want to. Okay, my first one's my family doctor, no names. My second, my pediatric rheumatologist, and my third one is my eye doctor. She's like really good. She explains whatever goes on in my eyes, and I think that's interesting. So, and I don't even know her name. Sorry.
I have too many doctors. My naturopath too.
Okay, next question. Natasha, what's your worst flared up joint?
my under my right foot. It's not really flared up. None of them are flared up. But
Okay, Spencer, go.
My middle knuckle. It hurts.
is it your middle finger knuckle?
Yeah. And I won't put all of them up. I don't put just enough. But yeah, it's like that one. It's like the middle one in my middle finger. It like gets really swollen.
I get it like right in here. And then it's in between 2 of my knuckles. And I can feel it right there. Oh, gross.
It's so weird because in my foot, there's like this one spot under my like toe or like that part. I don't know how to explain it, but that's the only part that hurts.
I've had that before. It hurts. It's annoying.
But also, it's like I think one part of your foot is attached to like a nerve in your butt. So I don't know. This is like my logic. It's called sciatic pain or something. Yeah. It's awful. I don't even think it's arthritis, to be honest. I think it's just some other problems. Anyways, that's my side note. So I would say somewhere in my foot. Okay, cool.
Okay, next. What's your favorite pain relief?
Aleve or something or Advil.
Outside of my biologic, I like cold tubs.
Wait, do you mean like ice packs?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Ever heard someone call it that before?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you usually do it for your muscles, but I think it makes my joints feel good too. Like just sitting in a cold tub for like 10 minutes.
Oh my god. Oh wait, does a wrist brace count as a pain relief?
Yes.
And I take my Advil out and I put my
You can't do that. That was the first thing you said. You can't change. Okay, next. Your favorite arthritis idol.
I would do rheumatic disease idol, and I would say Selena Gomez because she's lupus and she doesn't have arthritis. But yeah, oh, we can also say Spencer. Trish,
Well,
you
that would have been mine.
Here's the one. Mine is Cheryl Kuhn. She's I met her through Arthritis Research Canada. She used to be a professional volleyball player. She's had like her hips replaced, her knees replaced, and she's a better biker than me. And just a wonderful advocate for arthritis. And she's been a big role model for me.
Wow.
yeah, I don't know any. I would just say Selena Gomez because she's close to arthritis.
It's a good one.
And I like to sing, and I like Selena Gomez. So there we go.
Okay, who was your first ever rheumatologist?
Dr. Gillies.
Am I supposed to say the name?
Oh,
Yes, just say the name.
Dr. Bonnie Cameron.
Dr. Bonnie. Thought you were gonna say Dr. Bonnie Henry for a second.
They're all named Bonnie, apparently. Okay, what was your first ever medication?
Methotrexate. Oh no, fluoroprofen.
I don't know how to spell that.
Naproxen. Does that count?
Yeah, I think that was mine too.
Naproxen, then prednisone, then methotrexate, then biologics, then joint injection, then all of the above.
See, I
Yeah.
stopped at the methotrexate and I'm still there.
So lucky. Like, I don't know what to say because I went all the way to biologics and then I went back to methotrexate. It was kind of weird. Anyways,
I know. I don't want to go back to methotrexate. I didn't like it.
Really?
I'm tired.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
I
like
guess
it.
it was okay. I like biologics better, personally.
I don't like any of them better.
Yeah, I'll take nothing. That'd be great.
Well, like I'm on pills because I've refused to do needles anymore. So pills I find aren't as bad as like injections were. So I'm
Mhm.
okay now, but injections were bad. I couldn't do methotrexate injections.
I'm doing that every Monday and it's awful. I just want to get it out of the way. Like, can it leave now?
Yeah.
I retire. Okay.
I used to be afraid of needles, like super afraid of needles until but leading up to getting RA, I had to get my blood taken so much that I just got used to them. And now I'm like,
I still don't do injections of any sort.
the vaccine hurt. It hurt my arm.
It hurt a lot after.
Yeah.
I think the initial one is like such a baby thing. I told the person that was giving it to me, like, she's like, "Oh, what medications do you take?" And I'm like, "Methotrexate." She's like, "Oh, this is like nothing compared to methotrexate." And then you wait like 3 hours later, you're dying of arm soreness.
But I told mom and dad the pain that you got from the vaccine was like it was very comparable to arthritis pain because like it's sore and you can't like move it anywhere, but like it doesn't actually feel like it's just a weird pain and soreness to describe that it's very comparable.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was so confused. I was like, I don't get it. I was like, I broke my hand. Like I haven't been doing anything with my arms. Why is my arm sore? I was like going on and on and on about it. And then my friend was like, didn't you get the vaccine today? And I was like, yeah. They're like, it's probably from that. I was like, oh, I guess. I was like, but it was so weird to me to think that like, I don't know, that it would be, I don't know, from a needle. I was like, what?
Right? Okay, last but not least, what was your best medication yet?
None. What type of question is that? Is it the medication that worked the best on me?
Yeah.
Plaquenil, sulfasalazine, and methotrexate mixed together.
I don't even know what you just said.
Yeah, I've never heard of the first one. Wow.
Oh, Plaquenil, they use it for COVID. They like tried it out for COVID. It's supposed to be some COVID friendly medication. I don't know, but I think it's called triple therapy. And it's weird because when I was on methotrexate the first time and the second time with the biologic, it didn't work. But then now that I'm on methotrexate with like 2 other things, it works. But I don't know if the methotrexate is actually working. That's what like confuses me, but weird.
So crazy.
I know.
Mine was Symphony. Once a month. Loved it.
Once a month.
You guys
It's so nice. Only have to inject yourself once a month, and it worked great. Well, now I have to take methotrexate too, but
right? Because is it like, have you been on Humira before?
mm-mm.
So it seems like a bee stung you or something. Like, is that the same? Is that how it works? Like it's like the same.
Yeah, I actually kind of preferred the like like with methotrexate you can administer it yourself, like with the vial and the needle. I kind of like that better than the auto injector, because the auto injector like just like shoots it into your leg, and it is kind of, it's like a little painful.
Yeah. Yeah, my friend says that too. But like when I was getting injections, my dad would get the diabetes needles from the shoppers, and we'd use those because I was like at the max amount of it on the needle. So the needle was actually like this big, and thank God, because I don't know how I would do with an auto injector.
I use that now, but my doctor does it for me. Like he like does it like that because it hurt more without the auto injector, which is weird. Is it? Everyone has their like different stories about which one hurts more, and I was like, the auto injector, it hurts at this like at that time, but it doesn't hurt after. But then the normal needle, it like hurts at that time and after too. So I don't know. It's weird. But yeah.
But anyway, thank you for playing my game.
No
I think
worries.
it worked out well. I'm gonna write this up and I'm gonna post it because I think it's funny.
I like how I thought I had to write it down. I didn't have to write it down.
Okay, now you have your own arthritis starter pack.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for joining us today. We really had a great discussion and a great time learning from you and hearing your stories. Everyone, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're listening through Spotify or any of our other streaming platforms, make sure you follow us and download this episode. And we'll see you all next week on Take a Pain Check.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
I can't hide, 'cause growing pains are keeping me up.